and I'd like to move on now to, excuse me, introduce Nick Caldwell, who is from DWP, looking at professional capabilities, and he's a professional capabilities analyst. So, good morning and welcome.
Okay, good morning. Unaccustomed as I am, and I am unaccustomed to public speaking, and I am from the north, and there are no subtitles, so do bear with me. Yeah, I'm Nick Caldwell. I'm a professional capability analyst with the Department for Work and Pensions, which, if nothing else, gives me an enormous name badge. But more precisely, I'm from the corner of the department responsible for IT service delivery, from innovation and architecture through to the management of some large contracted IT services. So it's the usual IT cycle without actually much hands-on IT increasingly. So now I've been asked to give this short session to share some of our own experiences and anecdotes from implementing skills capture in that environment. So what we've done to improve the way we manage IT skills, some of the benefits we've derived from that, and where it's led us to. So I hope that's broadly in line with the session title. I can only cover so much in about 20 minutes, but the following is based on our own recent experience and is summarised in just 3 short slides, you'll be happy to know, none of which actually feature our skills database at all. I'd like to focus on why we did it, the benefits for our business, and finally the benefits for our people. So a little bit of context about our own involvement in skills capture. Back in 2004-ish, IT in DWP went through the first of its transformations. That's a word I associate with Linda Carter twirling herself into Wonder Woman. It wasn't quite so miraculous, I can assure you. It rarely is in government. But we certainly left with less staff and less skills as a result. And our CIO at that time was still shelling out considerable chunks of public purse to buy in specialist IT skills, innovators and analysts and testers, not knowing what he already had at his own disposal. So to address this short-term purchase of skills, without much in the way of knowledge transfer in many cases, our CIO endorsed the introduction of a skills capture exercise to determine his own skills base and to reduce his cost. So as the industry standard framework for the government IT profession, we needed to assess against SFIA. It was version 2 at that stage, which must seem an awful long time ago, Ron, to be honest. So we procured a tool to host SFIA and to enable assessment and validation against it. And that's what is now Connex's Skills Manager tool. And that was for 2,000 plus staff across IT service delivery. So architects and commercials, project managers, etc. And on top of that historical context, with a more recent impetus, and that's as a result of the tightening of the purse strings and the civil service reform agenda, which came on the back of further transformation, which was now called organisational redesign. Same thing. But there was a new insistence on smarter use of skills, more awareness and accountability, growing your own, and more so than ever, flexible resourcing, which is now a hot topic across government. Okay. So, a few of the whys and wherefores. As I say, we have new drivers on the back of civil service reform, but these few points here do hold true regardless of which sector you work in, public or private, and the principles are not just valid for IT, indeed. So the first why is that it makes managerial sense. It's, as I've said there, a basic responsibility of managers to know what your staff are capable of. and it's something the public sector particularly has received recent criticism about. And it's those softer people issues. I think I'd probably phrase that a little bit better. It's the soft issues, not soft people. Although sometimes it is soft people. Those issues are often sidelined, we've found, in what can be quite a hard-nosed, delivery-led IT environment. And clearly a healthy business is one which is fully aware of the capability of its staff. Now, it doesn't take much managerial effort to make staff feel invested in. Very often it just takes a little less apathy. It might sound like a no-brainer, but to take a genuine interest in someone's development and in their aspirations, you're far more likely to have engaged staff. It's a fair bet if you leave your staff's interests on the periphery, you won't. And countless staff surveys have told us as much. So we implemented skills measurement because it makes financial sense. As I've already referred to, we need to rely less on the purchase of skills with a view to dispensing with the purchase of skills entirely. So there's not really an excuse for not being self-sufficient now. Now this is a bit cliched, but we need the right people in the right place, and I'm sure that will be said many times today. But it's more important than ever now. If you're serious about resourcing well, or you're serious about resourcing flexibly, it shouldn't just be about who's available, because that bypasses skills to a large extent. And it shouldn't just be about which team can be lifted in its entirety and bounced from project to project, and that's often the case. So it needs to be a bit more informed and meaningful than that, and having a skills audit of your business, or as near as humanly possible to a skills audit, is the first step. Having specific raw data that's validated for what's essentially a soft area, subjective area, helps to inform decision making. Importantly, having quantifiable skills data reduces the reliance on anecdotal evidence of, for example, skills shortage. Personally, I've lost count of the number of times I've heard, well, we haven't got enough project managers, or we haven't got enough architects. And when you say, well, how many and how do you know? They say, well, we can't be sure, but we just know. And raw skills data isn't the total solution, but it can help quantify it and counter some of those politics around a perceived or an assumed skills shortage. So it's not just about having data to support resourcing. Skills measurement has also made our business over time more self-sufficient, because we can easily identify expertise for internal knowledge share and to inform induction and mentoring and secondment and internal training and things like that. So it's been really useful. And we wanted to identify the capability gaps, that's the actual gaps, not the perceived or the alleged gaps. And being able to report against a spread of skills across an entire framework, such as SFIA, has helped to illustrate how well equipped the business is for now and for the future. And if you can report that spread of skills at individual, team, sector, business level, then all the better. So we need to know what our people know, because it could save us money and it informs decision making. A few of the business benefits, excuse me, sniffing there. So I've already touched on some of the business benefits in the introduction, but and this is not an exhaustive list by any means, from a business point of view, with any system, the right outputs are important. Having a single tool to capture IT skills pulls it all together and often replaces a cottage industry of spreadsheets, which tend to be the alternative. All formatted differently, all doing slightly different things, all valid in their own right, and that's fine to an extent for small numbers, and if you want limited reporting. However, you start introducing any scale to it, that then becomes a problem. So robust and relevant reporting is easy. It makes it easy to pinpoint expertise, and equally easy to pinpoint weaknesses in your business. also informs succession planning and many other things. Now, capturing skills has enabled us to target common training needs. So within our own environment, we've been able to target the common skills gaps and become more savvy. I thought I'd be the only one to use the word savvy today, but I've been beaten to it. So. Yeah, a bit more savvy about arranging group learning and realising savings by identifying the common learning requirements. So having all the skills information in one place enables you to approach training needs in a far less fragmented way. So we've been able to see how many of our people have the same training requirement, who are they, where are they. Let's organise a single event and let's save ourselves some money. Resourcing based on the full picture, and I said that's a hot topic for us at the moment. Recent events across the civil service brought a real focus on flexible resourcing. And even if somebody's not part of an out-and-out resource pool, to be placed here and there, from this point on, everybody is expected to be flexible to some extent in order to make the best use of skills. Now, that will take a while, as most things do in government, and within departments and across departments. It will take a while to bed in. But all the indications are that over the next few years, there'll be a move away from the parochial, that we've got enough skills for ourselves, to a far broader sharing of skills across departments and across the civil service. And all that's driven by civil service reform. And it's not too much of a stretch to see the same principle applying to the private sector. You know, skills are skills and need to be put to best use. So meaningful resourcing should be based on skills, which is the right person, right place, on aptitude and on availability. And knowing where your expertise lies, not just which staff happen to be in post, which is very different. Expertise doesn't only lie with people who happen to be doing the job at that time. Capturing just the skills someone needs to do their present role ignores all the other expertise that they've, which could be of benefit to the business. And we found that many usable IT skills, in our case, are in people's recent past. And a skills audit sort of dispenses with that sort of finger-in-the-air approach to resourcing projects. So we've demonstrated that skills can go beyond the current role to provide a full skills inventory for everybody, a full picture. So growing your own, informed succession planning, so being able to define your key IT roles and the specific skills within them, identifying the concentrations and the shortfalls in expertise at all levels, in all skills across the entire SFIA framework has been absolutely invaluable to us. And that kind of analysis helps to identify the individuals to bring through to address the shortfalls. And finally on this slide, the retention of expertise, which I believe is a theme for a presentation a little later this morning. Identifying and investing in employee development, promoting from within, nurturing your own skills base, and looking inward, really. No guarantees, of course, so that'll keep everybody, but those are the right things to have in place to retain expertise. If you take those away, the business is likely to lose more staff. So those are just a few of the business benefits I've highlighted there, by no means exhaustive. This last slide just covers a handful of the user benefits. And these are often overlooked and under-communicated. But you do that at your peril, really, especially if you hope to implement skills assessment without a mandate. So with regards to user benefits, it's vital to highlight and demonstrate what these are up front, regardless of which tool you use to capture or do your assessments. Now, most staff, we've found, will start cynical, especially at an unsettling time for jobs. And who can blame them? The first question they will ask is, what's in it for me if I'm investing my time in this? Closely followed by, what are you going to do with the information? Closely followed by, if I don't fill this in, well, I'll lose my job. So you must clearly show them what they get in return for investing their time, especially if skills assessment's not mandated, as I've said. So why and what's in it for me? So to address this, we illustrated some of the outputs, some of the actuals for them to support personal development planning. And these are often pretty loose, especially where we come from, and last minute. So being able to offer a full summary snapshot of all their IT skills recorded, all the validating managers' comments, provides something tangible and actual and specific for them to take along to inform development discussions. And we've promoted features to assist with career planning and skills gap analysis. And in that respect, we're fortunate to have a single tool that offers that level of reporting. But regardless of the hosting tool for SFIA, if you illustrate just the corporate benefits, it switches people off because they feel they're being done to in some respect. And we found a good deal of resistance to that over the years. Identifying immediate learning needs, again, often not well documented. Being able to assess against core SFIA skills may identify skills gaps, and you would hope it would. Suggesting interventions to help bridge those skills gaps is a real plus, and it completes the cycle for users assessing their skills. Because you're not just saying, well, assess your skills, there's a gap, and go and discuss it with your line manager. We're able to offer the closure of that circle. In SFIA, we've got a common IT reference that's already been referred to. We've got that terminology which is used for assessment, and it's relevant across the whole of the IT profession. We've got potential to record all skills. Now, as I've already touched on, typically staff don't like being defined by the job they happen to be in at the moment. They find that quite alienating, to be honest. And if you can demonstrate it's possible to build a full skills inventory beyond your current job role, which captures all useful and recent skills that they've got in the locker, that's a real plus. And I've also referenced that as a business benefit, but it's something which enhances engagement with the skills capture process, no end, quite markedly. Be in it to win it, a little bit glib maybe, but flexible resourcing is already embedded in part of our business, predominantly the project part. And the process is underpinned by a skills search, which pinpoints expertise. Then come the offline discussions about availability and release. So from a user perspective, engaging with the skills assessment process in that environment clearly opens up opportunities. Conversely, those that don't engage or treat it seriously may well deny themselves opportunities. Likewise, validating managers who don't treat it seriously and pay it lip service may also deprive their staff of opportunity. Generating a printed skills summary, I've already touched on this. It seems simple, but it's a real plus. And no equivalent exists for our staff, certainly, other than what they keep clerically at the moment. And finally, career planning, planning your next move. Having the ability to compare your current skill set with that required for any planned or preferred role, skill by skill, is a real plus for users. It's a key feature of skills capture which demonstrates to staff that the whole thing actually goes somewhere, and it has a purpose just beyond corporate benefits. And it demonstrates the business actively showing an interest and supporting aspiration to some degree. So I could go on a bit more, but I think that's about as much as I can fit into my 20 minutes. I think my time's almost up. Do we have time for questions or not? Yeah. I'll take easy questions from the floor and difficult questions over coffee, please. Anybody?
Any questions for me? Question there.
That's all right, I've got it. Yeah, got it. Okay. Yeah. Well, we started with the core skills that defined people's job roles, so that could be anything from 6 to 10 from the SFIA framework to define, let's say, a project manager's role. Ask them to start with that and then to explore the rest of the framework, not to go mad with it, and some people did do it line by line. And we don't just host the SFIA framework, So people went mad 450 times, telling us what they couldn't do sometimes. And that was just a comms failure on our part. But yeah, we'd start with the core skills and then ask them to approach the rest of their usable skills like they would if they went to an appraisal discussion. You know, and take a hit list of the things that they've got and rate themselves against that as well. Well, the particular tool that we use is a self-assessment tool with manager validation, yeah. It's what has become Connex's skills manager. We've had it for, well, since 2006, but it's now with Connexa, yeah.
I'll just say that Connexa are here at the exhibition, so anyone who's interested in that, go and visit them during the break. Question here.
So what are the benefits of that? You can use it to deploy staff differently.
Yeah.
I'm an environment agency and so you have similar things. So people have these things called contracts.
Yeah.
And you guys come and say to a project manager, would you like to be a program manager next week? Would you like to be a software engineer? Would you like to be... So how does that work through sort of contractual issues? And people, how much flexibility do you really have?
Well, we don't let this impinge on fair and open competition or anything like that. Certainly the unions will crawl all over us, and I've been very explicit that it shouldn't. It's very much in the context of flexible resourcing for short-term pieces of work or short-term projects internally, and I say it's based on a skill search, so you wouldn't necessarily pick up a project manager and make them a commercial expert, and pick up a commercial expert and turn them into a business analyst. It wouldn't be that stark. You're really doing a search on expertise first and foremost, and generating the best matches, which then inform whether you can go to a manager and negotiate release, or you know, see how available those people are.
Question here.
How transparent are you with the data? Can anyone access it? Can employees compare themselves? Or is that just...
No, there's a demarcation at user level there. A user can only see, or a member of staff, I should say, should only see their own data. The particular system that we use is based on the equivalent of an organisation chart. So there's their managers will see their team's data only, and then there is an administrator function which is able to capture everything. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, and that's always a risk with self-assessment. A certain element of trust has to be built in it at line manager level, and as I referred to there, if you get line managers that pay it lip service and use it as a tick box exercise, then you don't get valid data really. Or it's if you come to search on that data, the thing starts to fall apart a bit. Really, you've got to there's as much communications have to be with the validating manager element of it to treat it seriously, especially when you're trying to resource on the base of it, because things can really come unstuck there. If people have overstated their skills, they may well get placed in a post that they can't do, and it's all down to the line manager not treating the validation aspect seriously. So that's where you need to concentrate on the manager side.
Can I just make one comment, and I will come to you. My own experience of that was to encourage people to do evidence-based. So when they're going through this, I'd like them to understand that we may come back and just ask you to validate some of these things randomly, but give me the project, program, or whatever that underpins that rating.
Yeah.
And starts to change people's thinking rather than just thinking I'm wonderful.
Yeah, certainly in the particular tool we use, there is a free text element in there to say if you think you're at a certain level, just say why you think you're at a certain level to help your manager validate your scoring. And certainly, having gone through so much change, a lot of people's managers don't know them. So it can often be, I think I'm at this level, you may want to speak to such and such to validate that score. It's a tool really. It doesn't replace offline discussions, it doesn't replace anything, it just gives you a bit of raw data to work with.
Can we take two more questions? I think there was somebody there.
I understand that once you've got your information, you do the gap analysis against what you think you need today or even what you think you need next year.
Yeah.
What work have you done to identify what you need in 3 or 4 years' time?
Internally, very little. Very little. Having just gone through a serious transformation period, the dust is still settling, really. But it's infinitely possible to do that, to project as far as you want down the line, to see how many project managers, how many key skills at particular levels you will need, and to be able to project the gap and close it over that time. But from a practical point of view, not much at the moment. But that's our failing, not not the process.
Last question, I'm afraid, over here.
You mentioned flexibility, people being working in different departments.
Yeah.
How far have you rolled it out away from IT skills?
It has gone broader than IT skills. It started within our own pockets of DWP. It's not a government solution. There are lots of areas of government looking at implementing this, and part of the civil service reform agenda was to bring in a civil service-wide skills audit. So the wheels are moving. It's quite slowly at the moment. But we had to extend it beyond IT because we had commercial staff, we had finance staff, policymakers, and a lot of our corporate areas have adopted the same tool and the same process because flexible resourcing is a big issue for them. So we've extended that by hosting other frameworks on there, but using exactly the same principle as we do for SFIA.
We'll release you. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you very much, Nick. I thought that was an excellent realisation of the reality of trying to do some of these things. I just picked up a few points. I think you alluded a lot to the outcome. So the individual that is being assessed would like to understand what this information is going to be used for, why it is of value to the organisation, and why it is of value to them personally. I've seen that both across the public and private sectors. It's exactly the same thing. So some of the other things that were interesting to me was this grow your own. I picked up from the BBC this week, EU Commission launches Grand Coalition to tackle IT shortage. Specifically, the Commission's own figures suggested there will be 900,000 vacancies for IT-related roles by 2015. There are currently about 26 million people unemployed across Europe. The number of digital jobs based around IT is growing at about 100,000 every year. And I think increasingly we heard about recruitment, but organisations need to grow their own capability, and I was really interested in the questions and your point about the flexibility, because all organisations are looking to go to this kind of resource pool idea, and it's fine theoretically making sure that I have good skill matches that I could deploy anywhere. I have to get the people involved on board, whether it's contractually or emotionally, that they are happy to move this. Many people have been working in the same office in the same department for 10 years, and now I'd like them to just flip. So there's a whole set of other skills that Sarah started to touch on that we need to think about to make a more rounded IT professional. But what it keeps reinforcing to me is that, and I know I'm biased, is SFIA is the language. We talked about how do I know what I need looking forward. All organisations are doing the same thing. And the specific question about how do I plan for 2 or 3 years' time, what we've been seeing is if I could combine what I think the budgets look like and what my strategy might look like, am I changing technologies, do I see major programs coming, I can start as a rough feel using SFIA to look at small, medium and large projects, and a large project on average has a program director and it has a few project managers and business analysts. I can get a feel for it using SFIA. The key point for me out of this is I have to get everybody, whether it's finance, my project managers, my planners, my assessors, using the same language. Because you picked up on, I've got a shortage of PMs and architects, but I don't know how many. The only other one I would add to that, because every organisation I've worked with says exactly the same thing, is business analysts. So those are the three consistently, but no, they cannot nail exactly how many or what they want them to do, but they know they haven't got enough. We have an opportunity with SFIA, I think, to start to encourage people and work with them to better define what their requirements are and allow other groups to work with individuals to build their skills and capability and encourage them to work in a more flexible, resourcing way. It will be much better for their careers and their long-term benefit for both them and the organisation. And I think that leads us on quite nicely to our next speaker, who is Robert Delamere, who is the Global Head of Learning and Development at Deutsche Post. Robert is responsible for organizational learning and leadership development in Deutsche Post IT function. And over the past 20 years, Robert has been working in the field of organizational learning in both Canada and Europe, is currently pursuing his Doctorate of Education through the University of Pennsylvania's Chief Learning Officer program. Robert currently lives in Prague, Czechoslovakia, so I can't think of anyone better